Battlefield 2042 Season 2 launches tomorrow. I got a chance to play the content early, and I've got that footage and info on what you need to know to hit the ground running tomorrow. And before we get into all the awesome details, I first got a quick word from today's sponsor. Finding time to make nutritious meals my whole family enjoys can be a monumental challenge. The good news is today's sponsor, Factor, delivers fresh, never frozen, healthy meals right to your door. Imagine getting delivered freezer meals but not frozen and made with fantastic products. It's basically genius and something I always wished was a thing, and now it finally is. Not only do these meals taste fantastic and are healthy for you, but my 2 and 4-year-old absolutely love them, which I gotta say is the real test for good tasting food. Try them out for yourself. Head on over to go.factor75.com/levelcap130 and use the code levelcap130 to get $130 off across 6 boxes. That's a massive savings, so make sure you use that code. And one of the best things about these Factor meals is that there's no prep work or mess cleanup. They plan and package each meal so that all you have to do is heat it up and serve, which means it only takes a few minutes to get dinner on the table. The meal plans offer a ton of variety with rotating weekly menus of over 25 different options. They also offer lunch options for folks looking to eat well at work or while at home during the day. Factor will even custom build your orders based on taste preferences and meal history. So stop stressing about what to eat and visit go.factor75.com/levelcap130 and use the code levelcap130 to get $130 off across 6 boxes. The link and promo code are in the description and pinned in the comments. Alright, let's get back into everything you need to know about Season 2. First off, the new map Stranded seems like a solid addition to the 2042 lineup. It's not as dynamic or expansive as Exposure, but there's still a very strong sense of combat flow and variety in general. It's like somebody looked at Discarded and said, hey, if we had to rebuild this map from the ground up, what would we do? The ship on this one feels like a real combat arena rather than a big empty space to die in. There's decent cover, elevated positions, and even some sneaky flank entrances from the deck of the ship. McKay can reach the deck with his grappling gun, and he's going to be very strong on this map. Every objective area seems purpose-built to facilitate using his grappling gun. Even areas like the first sector on Breakthrough, which seems like they wouldn't favor McKay, have spots like the top of the hill on the left that are nearly impossible for defenders to reach without him. If you manage to secure a spot like this, you can effectively shut down the attacker's advantage. A lot of players were also using Irish for his Sentinel turret, which seems almost necessary in his ship's interior. The Breakthrough mode takes you through the interior of the ship, and the explosive spam can get pretty wild. So much so that probably the most effective strategy for taking these points is going to be using spawn beacons to pour in through the flanking routes on the side and deck of the ship. Now, the out of bounds area is just wide enough that you can make it into the defender's entrances as an attacker, so use those areas to backflank the objective. Now on Conquest, the surrounding area of the ship is set up to give infantry decent cover with a more green hilly area on one side and sort of a container yard on the other. But it's also a playground for vehicles. There's plenty of zip lines to speed up traversal, and the ship itself plus the surrounding towers adds a surprising amount of verticality to the combat. Without question, snipers are going to have a good time with all the high up vantage points, assuming that they can keep the skies clear from helicopter threat. Now, the new specialist is called Charlie Crawford, and to be entirely honest, he's probably one of the weaker aspects of Season 2's content. He has a deployable minigun that comes with a ballistic shield for it. The minigun has infinite ammo, but it does overheat. It does okay damage at close range, but it has pretty wild spread, which makes the medium to long range targets a bit more out of reach. Charlie can replenish gadget ammo, which is a nice perk, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough to make him a top tier pick. I would imagine certain choke points on breakthrough modes will be perfect for his turret, but if you know it's there, it's pretty easy to counter. Now with the season launch, we're also getting 3 new weapons, the AM-40 assault rifle, the Avances LMG, and the PF-51 automatic pistol. The AM-40 is billed as an SMG rifle hybrid, and that kind of tracks with my experience using it. It feels like a weaker M5, but still pretty solid in close and medium range fights. It can also be upgraded with a 40-round drum mag that gives it plenty of ammo for dealing with multiple targets. Now the Avances is a cool high-tech looking LMG. I think using the larger mags is going to be the way to go with this gun, as the reload time is pretty darn lengthy. It seems fun to use, but not ultra competitive when compared to assault rifles or SMGs. Perhaps more testing will unlock the perfect setup that really brings this weapon to life. Now, the new pistol probably shakes things up the most when compared to the 3 new weapons, because it basically gives players a pocket SMG as a sidearm. It kind of looks like a miniature P90 and has a 45 round magazine and full auto fire. Its weakness is range and its reload speed, but in a pinch this thing can nab you a multi-kill in close quarters. Now of course Season 2 is also adding 2 weapons from the Portal mode to the rest of 2042. We get the Battlefield 3 M16A3 and the M60E4 at launch. The M16 is definitely the stronger of the two. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that the M60 basically feels kind of worthless. Something definitely seems off about it. It's got its slow rate of fire and just doesn't seem effective at most ranges. The M16 on the other hand felt like a solid addition to the game. It packs strong damage, a good rate of fire, but a lot of spread at medium and longer ranges. Definitely needs some testing. I will say in general the Portal guns do feel a little off compared to the base guns in the game. It kind of feels like they weren't designed for this game in particular, and again I need to test them out more, but first impressions was that the M16A3 is fun, quite effective, but it handles in sort of a wonky way, and the M60 just feels like it's probably not going to be worth using until it gets tweaked. Now the new tank/armored vehicle is pretty spicy. It has 3 primary weapons to choose from: a 40mm cannon, a howitzer cannon, and a missile launcher. The driver also has a secondary coax light or heavy machine gun to pick from. The equipment slot options are pretty standard except for the active protection system. This blocks all incoming rockets and explosives for a short duration. I didn't get to test that out specifically, but it seems like it'll stop everything except for maybe C5. It also has a full team respawn beacon that everyone on your team can use. The beacon itself is massive, so you'll have to hide it well, but it could provide some insane tactical advantages, and not just on this map, but for all the 2042 maps. The vehicle is accessible from the armored vehicle category. On Stranded, you'll have access to 2 of them at a time. This also means that small arms fire won't damage it, and as far as I could tell, it doesn't seem like you can shoot any driver or gunner out from it. In practice, it feels quite solid, being so agile and having decent firepower, though it's definitely designed more as an anti-infantry vehicle than something you should be taking on other tanks with. It seems like it can assist with taking out a tank, but you probably won't be winning one-on-ones. The combination of speed, firepower, some potentially very useful countermeasures, and the tactical respawn beacon are going to make this a fan favorite vehicle, I would imagine. Overall, it seems like Season 2 is launching with some decent content. I would say on par with Season 1's launch content, but what we have to look forward to is instead of just 1 map overhaul this season, we're going to get 2 additional map overhauls plus some added Portal weapons with new vault guns becoming available at a later date. This combined with the second battle pass, and I'm actually really looking forward to Season 2. I think especially with the map overhauls adding into this new map, is kind of going to feel like we're getting 3 decently newish playable maps this season, and that's going to give us a lot more map rotation options, a lot more server rotation and playlist rotation options for DICE to play around with, and I think it's just going to bring a lot more variety in terms of what's actually fun to play in 2042. DICE have been turning the ship around with this game, and I think Season 2 is going to be kind of a midway point for, hey, look, this game's actually looking fun and decent, much more variety and playability, and really at its core, that's what 2042 needs. People to join in the game, not be frustrated by the lack of decent maps to play, and I think that's what's going to start happening with Season 2. And one thing that I've been enjoying as a veteran fan of the franchise is, well, map reworks. DICE historically has spent very little time going back to the maps that they launched and making any sort of changes, additions, fixes to them. It's almost always been extremely minor stuff like clipping points and buggy points. In terms of actual layout and combat flow, DICE have rarely gone back to fix flow and cover and that type of stuff, and so seeing them do so much work on the maps to make them better, I think is going to produce a lot of maps that end up being much more fun to play than the previous Battlefield maps in terms of the overall design refinement, and hopefully it's something that DICE carries through for their future iterations in the franchise. The ability to go back, refine, and improve upon their map design work. So I hope this video gets you up to speed with the Battlefield 2042 Season 2 launch so that you're able to hit the ground running. Hopefully I'll see you guys in game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.